When I was a boy, my grandmother would sometimes stop in the middle of an ordinary day and look at a person, a visitor, a child, once a complete stranger passing through, and say quietly, to no one in particular, that one carries the old spirit. And I would look at whoever she was looking at, and I could never see what she saw. They looked like anyone, a quiet woman, a boy who sat differently than the other boys, an old man who touched the horses a certain way. And when I asked her, "How do you know? What are you seeing?" she would say, "You will learn, grandson. The old spirit cannot hide. It shows in small things, always in small things, and one day your eyes will catch them the way mine do." Well, I am 70 now, and she was right. My eyes learned, and I want to tell you why I am making this video tonight. It is because of you, this audience. For months now I have read your comments, thousands upon thousands of them, and I have been seeing what my grandmother taught me to see, over and over, in the way you write, in the things you notice, in what moves you and what you carry and what you keep. And I finally understood that it is time to say to you what she used to say. Many of you carry the old spirit. Not all, but many, more than in any gathering I have ever stood in. And most of you have no idea because nobody in your world was trained to recognize it. So you have gone your whole life being seen as merely quiet, merely sensitive, merely old-fashioned, when the truth is something else entirely. Something my people would have spotted in you before you finished crossing the camp. Tonight I am going to teach you what my grandmother taught me, the 5 signs, the small things the old spirit cannot help showing. Count them in yourself honestly as I name them, and at the end I will tell you what it means if they are yours, and what the old ones would say you are supposed to do with it. Because carrying the old spirit was never just an honor, my friend. It was always also an assignment. The first sign is that you feel the pain of things that cannot speak. This was always the first thing my grandmother looked for, and she said it was the surest. Watch yourself. The dog that flinches when a hand moves too fast. You feel it in your own body. The old horse standing alone in a bare field off the highway. You think about that horse for miles, sometimes for days, while the people in the car with you never saw it. The tree cut down on your street, and everyone else saw a removal. And you felt, do not be ashamed to admit it tonight, you felt a death. The spider carried outside instead of crushed. The worm moved off the hot pavement. The winter birds you cannot stop feeding on a budget that has no room for birdseed, and you buy the birdseed. The world calls this being soft-hearted, and says it with a little smile, as if it were a charming flaw. Hear what my people called it. They called it the wide circle. Most people, through no evil of their own, draw the circle of their caring tightly, themselves, their family, their few, and everything outside the circle is scenery, usable, ignorable, felt as nothing. And a few people, a few in every generation, are born with the circle drawn wide. So wide it takes in the dog and the horse and the tree and the worm, takes in everything alive, hear this, not as an idea, as a feeling, felt in the body, involuntary as flinching. My people built their entire way of life on the wide circle, the honoring of the animal taken, the asking of the plant before harvesting, the belief that everything that lives is a relative, and a person born with the wide circle in a world that has forgotten it will spend their whole life aching in ways the narrow-circled cannot understand, and, mark this, quietly refusing to become narrow, no matter what it costs. If that is you, if you have ached for the speechless your whole life, and hidden how much, then mark the first sign, my friend. It is the oldest one there is. And I will tell you about the stranger my grandmother identified, because his story shows how surely this sign reads. He was passing through, a hired man working a season in the area, a white man, quiet, unremarkable, and he came once to buy something from a neighbor while my grandmother and I sat outside. And she watched him for perhaps 2 minutes and said it, that one carries the old spirit. And I looked at this dusty, ordinary stranger and asked her, him, how can you tell? And she said, watch. And I watched, and I saw nothing. And she said, grandson, you looked at the man. Look at the dog. The neighbor's dog, an anxious, snappish creature that trusted nobody, had crossed the whole yard and was standing against the stranger's leg, and the man, while talking, without looking down, without performing anything for anyone, was resting his hand on the dog's head in a way that had the dog's eyes half closed. And she said, now watch what he does with the gate. And the man finished his business and left. And he closed the gate behind him the careful, complete way you close a gate when you have decided the animals behind it are your responsibility for the 4 seconds you hold it, though they were not his animals, and no one was watching, or so he believed. A dog and a gate, grandson, she said. 2 small things nobody performs. That is all the spirit ever needs to show itself, and it cannot help showing itself, because the spirit is not in what a man displays. It is in what he cannot switch off. I have tested her method for 60 years, my friend, on hundreds of people, and it has never once been wrong. And it is the very method I have been using these many months on you. The comments are your dogs and your gates. You cannot switch it off either. That is exactly how I know who I am talking to. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever, and most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it, all of it. 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received, the ones about the wide circle and the ones born carrying it, the ones about what the old spirit is for in a world like this one, the ones I have never said on camera. It is called the native way, and it costs less than 1 dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments. But do not leave yet, because the second sign is the one that has made you feel strange at every celebration you have ever attended, and when I name it, a lifetime of moments is going to make sense. The second sign is that you feel the sacred in ordinary moments, and it stops you where you stand. There is a certain experience you have, and you have never told anyone about it, because there are no words for it that do not sound foolish. You will be doing something completely ordinary, hanging the wash, driving the road you have driven 1,000 times, standing at the sink, and suddenly the moment opens. The light comes through the trees a certain way, or the quiet gets a certain depth, or the sky does something, and for a few seconds the ordinary world goes transparent and something enormous looks through it, and you stand there, dish towel in hand, filled with a feeling that is half joy and half ache and entirely too big for the moment that triggered it. Sometimes your eyes fill and you could not say why, and then it closes, and the world is just the world again, and you go back to the dishes and you tell no one, because what would you even say? Hear me tonight, and hear my grandmother behind me. That experience has a name in every old language on this earth. It is the oldest religious experience there is, older than every building and every book, the direct feeling of the sacred coming through the ordinary, and it was the daily bread of my people. They built no cathedrals. Do you know why? Hear it now. Because the whole world was already one, and they trained their children to catch exactly the moments that catch you, the light, the silence, the opening. The modern world lost the capacity almost entirely. It cannot stop, cannot receive, cannot even see, and so the openings pass by it unattended, all day, every day. But they do not pass by you. You have been stopping for them your whole life, in kitchens and parking lots and gardens, a person having sacred experiences in a world with no name for them, keeping it secret, wondering privately if everyone felt this and never mentioned it, or if it was only you. It was not everyone, my friend. Mark the second sign. The third sign is that the old things trust you. This one sounds strange until I explain it, and then you will know instantly if it is yours. Children settle near you, not perform for you. Hear the difference. Settle. The overwhelmed grandchild goes calm in your lap when he goes calm in no one else's. Babies stare at you. Everyone jokes about it. That baby is always watching you, and it is true, they do. Animals choose you. The skittish cat that hides from everyone comes and sits by your chair like you had an appointment. The old people, when they were living, wanted you near. You were the grandchild they asked for, the young neighbor they told the real stories to, and dying people. Some of you know this and have never spoken of it. Dying people are peaceful around you. Families have said it to you. She settles when you're here, and you never knew what to do with that. Hear what all of these have in common. Children, animals, the old, and the dying. These are the ones who have not learned to be fooled, or have finished being fooled. They do not read faces the way the busy middle of life reads faces. They read something underneath, some steadiness or safety or quiet in a person that cannot be performed, and they read it perfectly, every time. Ask anyone who has ever tried to fake calm to a baby or a dog, and they choose you. They have chosen you your whole life. That is not coincidence, and it is not luck, my friend. That is the truest character reference that exists on this earth, issued by the only judges who cannot be bribed. The old ones watched exactly this when they were deciding who carried the spirit. Watch where the children settle. Watch who the animals follow. Watch who the dying reach for. Mark the third sign. The fourth sign is that you cannot walk past what others walk past. Something in you is unable, physically unable, to leave certain things undone that the whole world leaves undone every day. The shopping cart in the parking lot, you return it, always, and not for anyone's approval. The lot could be empty at midnight and you would return it, because something in you will not put your small mess into the world's keeping. The dropped glove on the fence post, you are the one who picks it up and sets it where its owner might find it. The new person standing alone at the gathering, you are the one who crosses the room. You have been crossing rooms toward lonely strangers your whole life, unable not to. The mistake in your favor, the extra change, the uncounted item. You go back in and fix it, and the clerk looks at you like you are from another century. And hear me, my friend, that clerk is exactly right. You are. What all of these small compulsions share is a single old belief, held so deep in you that it operates below choice. The belief that the world is held together by unseen honorings, that every small right act matters even when no one sees it, especially when no one sees it, that the Creator's accounting includes the shopping carts and the strangers and the extra change, and that a person is responsible not just for what they are caught doing, but for what they are. My people had a word for living this way. It translates roughly as walking in a sacred manner. And it meant exactly this, the daily, invisible, unwitnessed keeping of the small honorings, not for reward, not for reputation, because the walk itself is the point. The modern world calls your compulsions quaint. The old world would call them by their true name. Mark the fourth sign. And the fifth sign, the one that gathers all the others, is that you feel homesick for a world you never lived in. This is the deepest one, so let me say it carefully. Your whole life you have carried a specific ache that you have never fully named. It is the feeling that you were built for a different way of living than the one you were issued. When you hear of the old ways, any old ways, the village, the tribe, the farm, the world where people knew their neighbors and ate together and raised each other's children and honored their elders and lived by the seasons, something in you does not think, how interesting. Something in you grieves. It grieves like a person hearing news of home, a home you never once lived in, and yet the missing of it is as real as any missing you have ever felt. You have felt it at movies and books, at the edges of other people's traditions. This sharp, strange longing, almost embarrassing in its intensity, for fires you never sat at and songs you never learned. The modern world would call it romanticizing the past. Hear the old understanding instead. My people believed that the ways of living that humans kept for 1,000 generations do not vanish from us just because the world changed 1 century ago. The shape is still in us, the shape of the circle, the fire, the belonging, the honoring, pressed into the human spirit by 10,000 years of living that way. And in most people, the modern noise drowns the old shape entirely. But in some, in the carriers, the shape stays awake, and it aches, the way any true shape aches when it is pressed into the wrong container. Your homesickness is not romanticism, my friend, and it is not weakness of nostalgia. It is memory, deeper than your own life, the old spirit in you remembering its true home and grieving it. And hear this last part, recognizing it instantly whenever a piece of it appears, which is why you are here, on this channel, at this fire, every week. You did not find this place by accident. The homesick always find their way toward home. Mark the 5th sign, and look around the fire while you are here, because this is the other mercy of the 5th sign. Every person watching this teaching, reading these comments, returning week after week to an old man on a bench, is homesick for the same country you are. You thought you were the only one. Each of you thought it. That is the loneliness of carriers scattered through a forgetting world. But the scattered are gathering now, right here, thousands strong, and there is a word for what happens when the homesick find each other. It is called home, my friend. It was always people, never a place. It was always this. So count them and be honest, because this was never flattery. It was identification, the wide circle, the openings, the trust of the unfoolable, the unwitnessed honorings, and the homesickness for the true home. If 4 or 5 of these are yours, then what my grandmother would say, looking at you the way she looked at that stranger long ago, is settled, and I will say it for her. You carry the old spirit, and now hear the part I promised, the assignment, because the old ones never handed out an honor without its work. A carrier is not carried for themselves. In every generation, the old spirit is planted in a scattered few so that it survives. That is the whole design. The carriers are the seed stock of the human way of being human, and in ordinary times they simply live it and pass it on. But you, my friend, are not living in ordinary times. You are living in the first age in 10,000 years that is actively forgetting, at speed, everything the spirit carries. The honorings, the circle, the sacred ordinary, the fire. Which means your assignment is heavier than your grandmother's would have been, and simpler. Live it visibly. That is the whole assignment. Stop hiding the wide circle, feed the birds in front of the grandchildren and tell them why. Stop keeping the openings secret. When the light comes through the trees and stops you, say so, out loud, to whoever is near. Look at that. And let them catch you being stopped. Return the cart while the young ones watch. Cross the room toward the lonely one while your family sees. Tell the stories. Keep the small honorings in the open. Because the spirit does not spread by argument. Hear this. It has never once spread by argument. It spreads by witness, one carrier at a time, living the old shape visibly enough that the sleeping shape in someone younger stirs and turns over and begins faintly to remember. That is how it survived every dark age before this one. Carriers who refuse to hide, you have been one all your life in secret, my friend. The times are asking you to be one in the open. The old ones are not gone, you see. They are in you, and tonight, at last, you know it. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there. The Native Way. 20 teachings. 100 pages. Written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone or find the link in the comments. Read one chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, how many of the 5 signs are yours and which one made your eyes sting? I read every comment. And if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.